Only if you care about it, you can protect it. Ocean is the most inaccessible environment of our planet. After centuries of studies and exploration, we are still missing knowledge of a great part of what's hidden down there. We are discovering new species on a yearly basis, but we don't know anything about them. We don't know how they live, how they feed, how they reproduce, which is their superpower, or which is their role on the planet. We are exploiting ocean resources and destroying habitats even before the shyest and most hidden species have had the chance to be revealed to the world. I want to bring you to an adventure with me today, a journey of knowledge where you can see how wonderful marine life is. Because only if you care about it, you can protect it. This journey is intended to be just the first step toward the exploration path that will make all of us protectors of the ocean. Each living being has a special place in the ecosystem, finding its spot in the food web. But the role of each species goes beyond being a prey or a predator. Some species provide important ecosystem services to the underwater society, like cleaning the water from the contaminants, or recycling nutrients, or making sure that one species doesn't take over another one. Some species can use resources rejected by others, like this shrimp that is feeding on pseudofeces, so food waste released by mussels. So underwater, there are some organisms that are called sentinel species because they can tell us about the health of the ocean. They're like journalists or reporters that live on the field documenting any instability of the natural world. Nowadays, most of the impacts recorded in the ocean are coming from human action. Pollution, overfishing, habitat destruction are just a few examples. But I believe in people's good faith. I don't think that people want to intentionally harm marine life. I think it's more like the lack of knowledge or the anthropocentrism that play a relevant role in this mechanism. We won't protect what we don't love. We won't love what we don't understand. We are often driven by the concept that the natural landscape or the lifestyle of an organism should be adjusted to our needs. By humans, of the very same importance of a tree or a fish. Humans are not less than a mushroom, and microorganisms are not less than humans. In life, there are those situations that trigger something into your soul, that help you to make a decision, or to undertake a certain path, or to clear the fog over your head, so you have a clear idea of your future. Scuba diving was, for me, one of those moments. While I always loved the water, swimming, enjoying the sea, it was my very first scuba dive that let me realize that my future was down there, underwater. I didn't know at that time I would have become a marine biologist or a researcher, but I had the unconscious feeling that I had to do something to protect that underwater beauty. Indeed, it's pretty common down there to find signs of human footprints, and this triggered the sadness of many divers, not just mine. However, when I moved my perspective from the garbage to the living forms covering a reef, or swimming around the seaweeds, or crawling along a crevice, everything changed. It seems like being inside a documentary. I couldn't believe that for years I could see those images on magazines or TV channels, but in that moment I was right there with them. So an aspect that made me think about how we perceive animals is connected to how these animals are part of our lives. So I was born, grew up, and currently living in a seaside town, San Benedetto del Tronto, a beautiful riviera along the coast of the Adriatic Sea. So mussels are an important part of our gastronomic tradition. Indeed, the high level of nutrients and plankton of the Adriatic waters make mussel farm to be highly successful and the coastal reefs to be covered in mussel beds. So when I was young, I used to envision mussels are the star ingredient of the pasta alla marinara or the impepata di cozze, so mussels with their juice and pepper. But mussels, actually seeing them underwater, open and feeding, made me realize that they were living their life down there exactly how I was living my life over here on land. Feeding, growing, interacting with the environment and the society. You know, mussels, I've studied mussels a lot. And I was still a teenager at the time, during my very first dive in the open waters. So I knew about the existence of filter feeders, but I didn't know what actually means being a filter feeders underwater. So later on, during my studies, I found that mussels spend most of their daily energy in feeding. They are like living pumps. They pump water inside their body, filter the plankton on their gills, and release back into the ocean the clean water. So their gills have the shape of a sieve, and they don't use it just for breathing, but also for trapping the food particles suspended in the water. So mussels filter hundreds of liters of water per day. So it's pretty hard to understand what it means underwater. So I made up a super easy experiment that can be done at school. So the kids, the students, can learn really early in their life how wonderful these animals are. So basically, I took mussels and seawater, I put them in a bowl, I gave them green plankton, and I came back after an hour. The water shifted from green to clean. So mussels filtered most of the plankton in the water, ingested some of them, and released back into the bowl the food waste as a pseudofeces. So bivalves are mollusks that have a soft body protected by two shells. Mussels are not the only one. Oysters, clams, scallops are other examples of bivalves that are part of our gastronomic use. But there are some bivalves that are so precious that we are not allowed to eat or needed to collect. And you know that we have one of these animals over here in our very seawater of the Mare Nostrum. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is, Pinna nobilis, the largest bivalve of the Mediterranean Sea, and the second of the entire planet. It can be like 1 meter tall. For centuries, has been exploited for the seasick it produced to remain steady on the seabed, but also for the beautiful shell. However, when human pressure became so strong to see the decline of its population, Pinna nobilis became a protected species. And of course, the illegal trafficking did not help to reestablish a vigorous population. However, nowadays, there is a more insidious threat. Since 2016, Pinna nobilis is experiencing an underwater pandemic. Yes, we are not the only one to have been impacted by a pandemic. Almost all the population of the entire Mediterranean Sea have been affected by this complex illness that brings the potential to die. And you know that in the Sea of Marmara, connected to the Black Sea, not so far from here, is one of the rare locations where Pinna nobilis remain almost unaffected. So we really need to protect and safeguard this area. The protective status of Pinna nobilis shifted from endangered species to critically endangered species. I was so afraid at some point to be witness of the extinction of this giant beauty. Because, you know, Pinna nobilis is endemic of the Mediterranean Sea. Can be found over here and nowhere else on the planet. So Pinna nobilis does not have two eyes, a nose, or a mouth, doesn't have eccentric colors, how we usually envision beautiful animals. But Pinna nobilis is just beautiful. We have the tendency to reflect our concept of beauty in a goofy puppy seal rolling with their mom along the Pacific coast beach of La Jolla, or the love scene of two boxfish mating on the tropical waters on the Red Sea, because we have the tendency to reflect our concept of loveliness in what we see. But this concept doesn't always allow us to perceive the actual beauty of an organism. Every form of life deserves the same space in a natural history. Every form of life has its own key role in the ecosystem. Every form of life is beautiful in its own way. But is our sensitivity fine enough to perceive that beauty? Is our perception of pure nature changed at the door of the digital world? So I would say that we should all go back to feel nature and to live at the rhythm of nature, because it's something that our body, our mind, our soul need, because we evolved in nature, because we are nature. However, I bet that nobody here in this very venue would give up to what humans have developed so far. Nobody would pass on their own smartphones or computer just to be closer to nature. By entering the digital world, we may be losing our direct connection with nature, but I have to admit that for digital natives, technology is an important part of their development. And for digital immigrants, like most of us, technology is already an important part of our daily routine. So our smartphones are literally becoming an appendage of our fleshy body. So let's make a smart use of it. Fellow protectors of the ocean, the digital tools may allow us to learn more about the ocean, to understand how much we are connected to it, and to be more aware of how much we are polluting it. The digital world can indirectly help habitat protection and ecosystem conservation. Digital tools may actually help us to be closer to nature and to raise our voice in protecting the ocean. And this is one way of doing it. The ocean may be the most inaccessible environment of our planet, but remember, we care about what we know. We love what we care about. We protect what we love. Thank you.